What's up, guys? SpartanCat, and in today's Battlecast video, I'm ranking some Advent super rares and rares on a regular tier list, not overrated, underrated this time, just a normal tier list. And you get Advent units by defeating Advent bosses that usually come on 4 times a month, and they come at a 30 or 40% drop rate unless you bring a treasure radar. And here they are. Some of them you could beat additional stages for true forms, and they all have unique usages. Just some of them are more useful than others. But what else is new in the Battlecats? Getting right into the list, we will start things off with Bullet Train Cat. And Bullet Train Cat is going to be in an S tier for me. Very powerful in terms of chip damage, even just eliminating enemies. Super fast speed, times 2 money. I think he's bread and butter for a lot of stages. Pretty much any cheesing strategy he'll be in because of his speed and his attack power. So, very good. Every time he gets knocked back, he has a recoil like Awakened Muhammad Cat, where he'll just go back and attack the enemy, gets knocked back, and reattacks. His big weakness is the time in between attacks. So when you send him out, he just kind of the microphone's a little quiet. I apologize, but you send him out, and then he doesn't do a whole lot because he's just sitting there, and he'll usually get killed in that time, and you have to send another one out. So be wary of that. But other than that, great unit. And just for the sake of this list, I'm going to be rounding up if I can't decide if this could be like a high F or a low D or something like that. I'll round up. Next, let me get all of these. Let me get all the bears. And we have Teacher Bearcat, we have Cadaver Bearcat, we have Assassin Bearcat. And they're all going to go into A tier. I think they're all quite good, but they do have single target attack. They don't have a lot of health and they don't have a lot of range. So they have a chance of dying. That's pretty high. But they also have fast recharge and an insane amount of damage thanks to the massive damage against these traits. And the large amounts of damage they could do against these traits is incredible, especially when you stack them. And they could win a lot of PvPs. And on top of that, just make sure to meat shield them. If you don't meat shield them, they'll probably be one shot. But very powerful glass cannons. And they remind me of Mini P.E.K.K.A. if you've ever played Clash Royale. Moving on, I have Glasscat, and Glasscat is he's not an F tier. Glasscat's gonna go in A- for me. Very powerful against traitless enemies, maybe just a plain A, but very powerful against traitless enemies. He could knock back and slow them for a long period of time. The only problem with him is single target and that he's only good against one trait. He also dies immediately. He is a kamikaze. You send him out and he explodes, but at least he slows the units. My biggest problem with him, though, is the single target because he often hits a fast meat shield in front of the boss, and thus he does not do his job properly. He slows a peon or kills a peon rather than the boss. But other than that, very solid crowd controller, and he's a big part of why I was able to beat 430 of Heavenly Tower. Moving on to Lone Cat and Kitten, who are going to go right in the A tier. Very good at freezing and knocking back traitless enemies. Just make sure to protect them, especially in mixed stages, because while Lone Cat and Kitten is resistant to traitless enemies, mixed stages could easily have Lone Cat and Kitten killed. So make sure to protect Lone Cat and Kitten at all costs. But when you spam Lone Cat and Kitten, you get a very, very powerful crowd controller against traitless enemies, and that is huge. And yeah, just make sure to protect them, because if you don't, they're going to hit the wrong target or they're going to die. Moving on to Green Shell Cat. I think Green Shell Cat is going to go in A tier, and Green Shell is a very effective stalling unit, so very good at being sent out and just blocking off enemies, giving you time to recover, giving you time to gain cash, whatever it might be. And that's very useful in a lot of stages, and it does a very good job at just doing what it's advertised, just running up and causing a ceasefire, protecting your units, and, as I said, kind of stopping the bleeding. Also, very effective at just tanking, as using it as a meat shield even. So, all around, very powerful unit, but it doesn't do a whole lot of damage or anything, and it could get tossed around in some stages. But another thing I would recommend is, for just about all these cats, I would recommend you bring in research combos, because a lot of these rely on being spammed and having units in front of them. So by increasing your research speed and everything, it'll greatly improve your chances of getting full effectiveness out of these units. Our first unit in the B tier today will be Golf Cat, and the reason so is because in his true form, he is able to attack enemies up to 650 range away with area attack. So very good there with the long range distance. He is resilient to aliens, so that's also useful. He has over 70,000 health at level 30 against them, but he has a huge blind spot. And if you don't patch the blind spot, he'll get killed. He'll get evaporated because he has a blind spot of over 400 range. So really anything that gets within normal range of him is going to hit him. So protect him very well. The blind spot is a huge crater for him, but he performs pretty well against the enemies he's supposed to, which are aliens, and he also sports a 35% barrier breaking chance. So make sure to try to stack him because 35% on its own is not very reliable. But as I said, you get a few out, he's pretty powerful. The only problem is you have to get a few out for him to be useful, and you also have to protect him from his long what's it called? I just said it. His long blind spot. Medusa Cat is going to be like a C plus in my opinion, a C plus. Long range, spammable, freezes relic enemies, but very bad survivability, makes it hard to spam her. She could be a B minus too, but I think she's a C plus because of Delinquent Cat kind of outclassing her. But Medusa Cat is capable of freezing relic enemies from long range, stands at 350 range. Just make sure to keep Medusa Cat protected, which is about the story of half these units. So yeah, could be a good crowd controller. Yeah, I'll bump her up to a B minus. As I said, I will round up units today. Ooh, this is gonna be a tough one to round up. I don't know if it's a D or a C here, but let's go like a 70. And Vodka Cat, yeah, very powerful. True form, I don't have the true form shown here, but the true form has 21,000 effective DPS against relics. Very powerful. The problem is single target, very low health, very low range. So almost impossible to stack this unit, and the single target makes him perform like a very, very bad assassin bear cat. So it's unfortunate. He could outrange 3 relic enemies in the entire game, and one of them is Old Horn, so that does give him a good niche, but he does get outclassed by Slapstick pretty hard because Slapstick has the range, has the health, has the area attack, and has the damage that's required to be a usable anti-relic. So my friend right here is going to be stuck at like a C minus. It's unfortunate. The true form didn't fix his problems that were there originally. What's the name of the sport? Rubgi. What's it called? I think Rubgi. I gotta search that up real fast. I think it's Rubgi. It just isn't rolling off the tongue like I'm used to. Rugby. All right, rugby. I apologize. Rugby. All right. I don't know why this is so hard for me to pronounce, but Rugby Cat. All right, Rugby Cat has long range, could attack up to 475 range away, and is strong as black and AKU, which is useful. It pretty much gives him the stats he needs to be effective, and without it he wouldn't be good. And he has immune to waves and surge, so that'll help him out. He doesn't have a ton of DPS or health or anything, but he's kind of like a miniature version of Pole Vaulter Cat, the long range unit that kind of jumps out. He has less stats, but you could send him out quicker. He's cheaper. Actually, I don't know about that, but I do know that much faster attack frequency. So I'm gonna give him like let's go with a B minus. Not bad, but I do think he gets outclassed by Pole Vaulter. Moving on, we have Slime Cat, who is going to join my boy Express Cat in S tier, and this is because of the very powerful wave attacks. Could pretty much clear out the entire map. Some stages, whole map cleared. Very useful. Could knock back bosses with a high knockback count, and really does protect your units. And my only complaint with Slime Cat is the survivability, though. Sometimes Slime Cat gets killed before he can land a shot off, so it's really a waste. You're spending money and he's dead. But even if he lands one wave, which is what he's going to do 95% of the time, it's a very helpful burst of damage, and he comes right back. So S tier, and he's one of the few units on this list that have a wave attack. He might be the only. Even so, very powerful. Phantom Cat, Phantom's it's sad. Phantom's gonna get a C minus as well, and the reason Phantom is not good is because of how bad of a generalist Phantom is. At least against Angels, he has long range, he's spammable, and he has a couple thousand DPS. But that's because he has massive damage against Angels. If you take that away, we're talking about 700 generalist DPS, which is atrociously bad, and that really prevents him from being used in any antis in any stage that doesn't have Angels in it. So, yeah, he's a very poor generalist, and he's still only a decent generalist. He's still only a decent niche unit at best. So, yeah, he's like a C, maybe even a D. I'll be nice and give him a C. All right, so Boomerang Cat got a true form recently, Fried Chicken Cat, and it's supposed to be a good unit at cursing and everything, but it does have a lot of downfall because of the low stats, the single target. But some of this is fixed in the true form. The true form gives him area attack, so that's huge. And on top of that, yeah, he's just a lot better because of that. And still an effective unit at cursing, but most times curse isn't going to be useful against most enemies. So we really wanted him to be cursing relics. Yeah, I'll give him a C. It doesn't help him a whole lot, but it makes him usable. He'd be an F if it wasn't for that. He'd be an F, maybe a D, but he'd be failing as a unit. Mighty Cat, I'm going to give Mighty Cat a B. I think maybe a B plus. Yeah, B plus. Mighty Cat, wave blocker, weakens traitless, but that's about it. He does have pretty decent stats as well. You could send him out. He'll deal some damage, clear out a couple enemies, but he does everything he's supposed to well. The only problem is he's good against one trait. And he has one ability that doesn't always mix with that trait, so there aren't many stages that he's going to be weakening traitless enemies and blocking waves in, so that limits him. He can't use all of his special abilities at once, so you're always using part of them. But if it's a mixed stage, he's a must bring, because he could weaken the boss and stop the wave, so they're pretty much useless. He's personally one of my favorites, so in terms of design and everything, I like him, but he's not the best unit on this list. Pretty good, though. Catway. So the true form saved Catway. Catway's going to get an A. Good against 3 different traits. Thankfully for the true form. Man, I keep coughing. But about a third more DPS damage and health, which differentiates itself from Slapsticks and gives him his own niche. But he's good against 3 different traits instead of 1, which is just Slapstick. He's spammable, he's cheap, and on top of that, he's part of a million cat combos. So you can get a lot of value for him, even if you don't have use for him in the stage. So that's also what sets him apart. He's a team player, and you can put him out in a bunch of different lineups, thanks to his cat combos. All around, pretty solid, especially against his niches, and I don't have a lot of critique for him. He's a spammable damage dealer, essentially. Kind of like Chill Cat. That's what he reminds me of. And next we have Stone Cat, who I'm going to put an S here. And Stone Cat, especially with research combos, as I mentioned before, really does benefit from them. But he's good at eliminating assassin bears. He's good at just clearing out a meat shield. He's good at tanking a boss hit. So he's very versatile. And as I said with the research combos, you could get a wall of him, essentially. You could keep sending him out, and he blocks everything. He makes enemies mess up their attacks. And he's a very useful cat. I'd feel badly for putting him in A tier, so I want to put him in S tier. He's adorable as well. Look at that little face. How don't you like that? And on top of that, he performs well even without a true form yet. So if he gets the true form eventually, I wonder what it'll do for him. And ending this list off with an S tier, what better way is there to end it off with is Cone Cat. And Cone Cat has 75,000 effective health against AKU and relics, making it a very effective meat shield, but the price is a little high. Just make sure to use them like you would use a ramen cat or whatever. But otherwise, very powerful meat shield. And yeah, there's definitely stages they can bring them in, especially high money drop stages and stages with AKUs or relics, preferably. But this is my full Advent tier list. There are a couple of units missing from this list. It's an order list. I added a few to it, but If you guys have any opinions, please leave them down below in the comment section. Just make sure to keep it civil. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and turning on notifications. And as I said, yeah, leave your comments down below. Also, I can't express this enough, but I am very, 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 very grateful for 1,000 subscribers. We just hit that in between this video and the last video. So much thanks to my first 1,000 subscribers, but also to anybody watching this video after that. So thank you very much, and let's continue growing. But anyways, SpartanCat signing off. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope I catch you in my next one. Peace.